Hello. It's surely good to see you. Yeah, I haven't done a video in about a week, fellas. Sorry about that. I had plans to get back up here to the garage, and it didn't work out the way I had intended. Uh, Things called life. A few things happened around here since I've been away, and both my sons, they're always busy doing stuff. They always have things they're doing. My son Christopher, he'd been working on a motorcycle, and a lot of work on that. He deserves a lot of credit. All the problems he's ran into with the bike, and he's figured things out on his own, pretty much, as far as I see. And when you can do things on your own and figure it out, that's always a plus. Sometimes it's easier to get help when you have a problem with stuff. I will say that. If you don't know certain things, then once in a while we need help with stuff. So, my hat's off to him. And Adam, he's been busy around here. There's a lot going on here, but he actually restored a fire truck in a couple days. I don't know how you could possibly do that in a couple days, restore a whole fire truck. I'm going to show you guys. There it is. He restored this whole fire truck. I will say, guys, this doesn't show up on film here, on the camera, however you want to say. Video. There we go. That's the right word. This thing is gorgeous in person. And my son sent me pictures of this and told me that, Dad, it looks better in person. And he usually is right when he tells me things like that. But this is very surprising how nice this turned out. This looks 100% professional, like I've seen on some of these shows on TV. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but there was a little show it used to be on around 10 years ago. And the guy did this kind of stuff, and this is absolutely beautiful. The red through my viewfinder is about, I would say, 3 shades off of what this looks like in person here. Has a couple little spots with some fisheye that he talked about, orange peel, whatever you want to call it, and he wants to take care of that. But for just a little car that sat around the yard, and he took it all apart and painted it and sanded some things down and got the chrome back looking very nice. So just being basically a little pedal car, that's very nice work. If you wanted to pick it apart on a scale, then I would say this is a 9 out of a 10. So that's my opinion about this. And of course you guys can see all the little details he did to this. And he's still waiting on a couple more stickers. I don't know where they go. I don't know if they go on the back or if there's some other lettering that has to go on this to be original. I don't know, but I'm going to show you guys that. So then, I'm over here working on the 460 heads so I can finish the engine up. And I'll show you this real quick, fellas. A lot of times, we're kind of afraid to tackle our own stuff. So we have stuff, heads and certain things professionally done. But what I wanted to show you was this. The bowls on a 460, I've already evened these in, but they have a low spot and they're very uneven. So your valve job and your bowl is very crucial on any head. But it seems like the Fords have a little bit more inconsistent bowl on almost every head that I've come across. So what I did, I evened it out, and it all depends what kind of tools you like to use. Now, you could level something out with this and blend it in. But what happens when you blend in with this, as you can see, this is a low spot from the factory. So you have to be very careful that that doesn't have tendency to lay there and make it even lower spot when you're trying to really just move this in and even this out. So here's a little trick. You can use a grinding stone like this, because as you can see, this would follow, well, my hand's blocking it, but it would follow the contour of the bowl. And you can actually kind of see where your high and low spots are when you hold something in there that's consistently round. Now, one thing about a grinding stone is this. I just said consistently round. These change shape and size. So this has been used quite a bit. I don't have a new one here to show you. This one here has a little bit more meat on it. But I would recommend, for somebody that's never really ported and you're going to try to tackle something like this here yourself, something like this, because this here is very smooth. It's when you're running it and trying to taper in, and it doesn't jump around, and as you can see, it holds the shape pretty well. Now what you don't want to do is start going up out of sight where you can't see. So always keep your tool flat when you're doing something like this here. Don't let it hop, of course, and because you don't want to start hopping around and hit your seat out here. Always remember your seat. You could actually tape your seats up. Anything you could put on here. I've actually had several ways you could protect your seat when doing this. You could even put some silicone around here and let it harden up and then peel it back off when you're done. But that's a little bit hard, because if you don't intend on doing a fresh valve job, which you always should do, even if you've had a pair of heads that were done recently and then you decide to do the bowls or do more work, you should always redo the valve job, in my opinion. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's all personal preference. Remember guys, without a good valve job, you're not going to have full potential of the head. This is actually the most important thing when it comes to a head, as far as I'm concerned. More important than porting. Sometimes it depends on how bad the ports are on a vehicle, so I don't want to say one outweighs the other. It's just that the valve job, the rest of the stuff can't do its job without a good valve job. I'll make it simple. So then here's another way you could do it. You could use a sanding roll, and that lays pretty flat, but here's the problem. It has the same thing. You got to worry about hitting these spots. See, it has tendency to stay there. Now if you're using common sense and you are familiar with tools, then you know to keep that moving back and forth, and you can tell not to keep hitting your low spot. But yeah, I'll get it out one of these days, fellas. The sanding roll itself, or a bit, like I said, has tendency to dig and it will dig right where, see, this is already blended in some, guys. That's what I'm trying to, I forgot to tell you. So this would be worse. So the bit would have tendency to kind of fight you back. So I hope that helps with that. I don't have any way of putting this on a stand here, my camera, to show you, but I was going to actually demonstrate this for you, but I think you guys kind of understand where I'm going with this. So the better you can get this as far as making it round and consistent, the better. So it's like this here. I started to tell you guys this. If you're only doing something mediocre just to make a little bit more power or just clean the heads up, you don't have to go as crazy as I am with this. I'm trying to level this completely in where there's no low spots at all. But if you, anything you do to a factory head and make it better, and you just straighten it out some, it's going to help. So there, I'll leave that there. So anyway, I'm trying to knock these out, guys. This is for the 460, and that's what I'm doing here today. That's my plan. So I wanted to show you guys this. The last time I was here, I got tied up doing a few things, and I was trying to knock them heads out, and I was helping Adam in the process. So I was doing 2 or 3 things at one time. So Adam came out here on his own after I went home and finished up bolting the pan on, and putting the timing chain cover on, and sealed everything up. And then he put the balancer on. Now, I don't think you guys will notice because of the lighting here. Now, I know that one of you guys would pick up on this if you could see. Much to my surprise, I always say when you get new parts to check them out, this balancer was bought 2 years ago. And do you guys see anything wrong with this balancer? Probably not. But much to our surprise, my son called me up and said, "Dad, these holes were never drilled." So, we don't remember who we bought this off of. It was Summit or Jegs. But we have 2 choices to see if we can find the paperwork and send this back, if they'll take it back. Which I gotta say, they've always been pretty good in the past. Or tap it. I know half you guys are gonna say, "Terry, I would just keep it and tap it myself." I know, guys, but you shouldn't have to tap a new part. This is your quality control that's leaving the building when you buy parts. Where's the inspector that would normally check this? I hope they're not paying the guy too much money, because he must be off in the back room sleeping. Whoever is responsible for taking care of that. So then, as you guys know, I bought a new bolt kit, and I did a video about this, but like all my videos, I blundered it so bad I didn't upload it. So these are the bolts I got, and if I remember right, these bolts were like $25, $22, somewhere in there. Anyway, under 30. And I was amazed how these things were wrapped. They were individually packaged. Well, here's the package here. This is how the whole package was. Everything individually sealed. These are sealed to their own, all the bolts were sealed in their own little row. I thought that was the best thing, instead of just getting something with a bunch of bolts in it and they're all mixed up and then you still have to figure out what's what. But look guys, these were marked. Water pump bolts, and then the timing chain cover bolts were marked separately instead of just throwing a bunch of bolts together. This company, I want to give them a little bit of credit because I had these things in a couple days. And you guys know how it is with parts. So, sorry I messed their little sticker up, because I'm going to actually put this on my toolbox or something, because I want people to recognize a good company. The bolts were quality. There's no burrs on them, like where you had a hard time screwing them in or anything like that. I definitely recommend this company, and I'm not being paid to say anything about this company. I just like to give people credit when credit's due. So anybody needs bolts, price and service, and even sent me, I thought this was actually nice, a letter with it to make sure that we're happy with their product. To me, that's a step above and beyond. That's a company that cares right there. So I opened the package up, guys, and I cut the paperwork with a blade. Being in too much of a hurry, I was excited when I got these bolts here. And I'll show you this real quick. This is how you'll receive your bolts if you buy from this company. Now, some people would say that's not a big deal, but to me, you guys know how it is today when you buy something. A lot of companies, they'll sell you whatever, and they don't care if the product's right a lot of times. I hate to say that, but this, to me, is a company that actually cares. And it's a good thing. So there you go with that. So, hold on here. Hello. What we're going to be doing here is concentrating on that 460 right there. Once I get the engine together, I have a segment I'm going to do and show how I do things. I looked at the headers that we're using on this engine, and they need a little bit of attention because I've spoke about this before on other segments about how you just don't take something out of the box and bolt it on without inspecting it, like that balancer. I overlooked that. So the headers have a big weld around on the inside of the tube. We are going to be knocking that down with a grinding stone or a carbide bit, maybe both. Usually with whatever I have in it, it seems like it works. So I always take the extra step if I have to. There's no sense putting headers on a motor if you're putting a header on that has a hole this big. Then you don't want the weld to make the hole this big, especially when it empties right into the header. That defeats the purpose. And I had a guy that I told that to once. He bought brand new headers, and I've told the story before. He put the headers on his vehicle, and I said, "You're putting them on like that?" He goes, "Yeah, that ain't gonna hurt anything." I was like, "You're kidding me." So the guy had aluminum trick flow heads, the whole 9 yards, good cam intake, and the car wound up running 13s. And he couldn't understand. Well, I don't know why my car runs that slow. I said, because you don't take the extra time that you need to do things to make the performance parts work. So it wasn't just the headers. It was, I'm sure the heads needed to be looked at and things like that. So, but it's just the idea of the mentality is what I'm speaking of on this. But we all get excited and want to get the things on the car, the parts on the car. And as I showed you, I got excited over them bolts right there. That's a big deal for me to do that. Usually I'll plan something out, and for me to actually go through with what I say on in a lot of cases, like when it comes to new parts, new bolts, and things like that, your old friend Terry here has big ideas, and then the funds don't match my ideas sometimes. But I stuck to my guns with the bolts because the other bolts were all rusted up. I didn't feel like cleaning them. I started to clean them up, but I had already cleaned up about 3 coffee cans full of other bolts a few months before that. I had my brother help me even with that. It was a mess. And so I wanted new stainless steel bolts because in that area right there, and guys, if you use new bolts even, you're going to want to put anti-seize on them because the timing chain cover and the water pump, the bolts always want to stick, and half the time, well, sometimes 70% of the time they'll break off in a 460 engine, and sometimes the 302s. So it depends how old the engine is, if it's been apart before, and if anybody's taken the time to treat them bolts before. But if they're original, chances are you'll snap them bolts off if they're original bolts and the engine's been together for years. So anyway, with that, I just got here. I want to show you guys a lot of stuff that we have going on out here. Some things with the truck, but it's too much. It will run my segment too thin, and I'm having trouble remembering half the stuff I wanted to talk to you about. But the main thing today is I'm going to try to do some more work to these heads. And I'm a little disappointed because I wanted to do a few things to the heads that I'm not going to do. So like I said, I had plans, and then my plans don't go the way I want sometimes. But I'm still going to be okay. I wanted to fill the intake runners in with some epoxy, and I made myself a deal. I said, well, if I pick my epoxy up and it's hardened up in the can, I won't do it. But if it's good, then I'll do it. So I picked up my $50 can of epoxy, and it's no good. So the pour I already did, I'm just going to grind that back out, and the heads are going to be how most guys would have them be. And it's not really a bad thing because you guys would get to see how the truck will run with if you were just to do a standard port job and a cleanup on the 460 heads. We'll be getting more into that later, and I'll show you more with the 460 heads later too, when I get a little bit further done here, a little bit closer to getting them where I want them to be before I put them on the engine. So I'll be showing you guys that. So that's my plan with that. But with that, I'm going to tell you guys thanks for stopping in, checking me out, and seeing what we're up to. I appreciate it. I appreciate the interest, your comments. You all know who I'm talking about. I have some special people on my channel, and I mean that sincerely. And hopefully we'll get to see this thing fire up. Had a couple of you just say that. You're anxious to hear it run. So am I. And we'll see if the old 460 runs like it should or shouldn't, or a little above average in the way I look at it. I have a set number in my head. We'll see if the old engine here pulls it off I hope the paint color didn't slow it down, make it mild it out any. But we'll find out, guys. With that, thank you, everybody, and God bless you.